Why everyone loves gossiping and you do too, philosophers explain. Let's start with a simple question: why do we gossip? Think about it. Gossip is everywhere, at work, in friend groups, on social media, even in the stories we consume through TV shows and films. It's that irresistible pull to talk about someone who isn't in the room, to share a secret, or to speculate about someone's private life. And whether we admit it or not, we all do it. But why? Is gossip just a bad habit, a weakness of character? Or is there something deeper going on? Philosophers, psychologists, and even evolutionary biologists have been fascinated by this question for centuries, and the answers might surprise you. Gossip isn't just idle chatter. It's one of the oldest and most universal human behaviors. Aristotle, in his exploration of human nature, argued that we are social animals, and gossip is one of the ways we navigate the intricate web of relationships around us. Think about the last time you gossiped. Maybe you shared a story about a coworker or debated a celebrity scandal with friends. Beneath the surface, something profound was happening. Gossip isn't just about the person being discussed, it's about connection. When we gossip, we're sharing information, aligning our values, and reinforcing group bonds. It's a way of saying, I trust you to hear this, or we see the world the same way, don't we? But there's more to it than just connection. Nietzsche, the German philosopher famous for his piercing insights into human behavior, might argue that gossip is a tool for power. In his work, Nietzsche often explored how humans are driven by a will to power, not just physical power, but social and psychological influence. Gossip, in this sense, becomes a subtle weapon. By talking about someone else, we position ourselves as insiders, as people in the know. We elevate our status by sharing information, true or not. And here's the darker side: gossip can also be a way to tear others down. Nietzsche might say that when we gossip negatively, we're engaging in a kind of moral judgment, a way of asserting our superiority over others. I would never do that, we think, even if we don't say it out loud.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But before we rush to condemn gossip as selfish or harmful, let's pause. Evolutionary psychology offers a fascinating perspective here. In prehistoric societies, gossip may have been essential for survival. Imagine living in a small tribe where cooperation and trust were the keys to survival. Gossip would have been a way to share crucial information. Who can you trust? Who's reliable? Who's dangerous? Over time, this behavior became hardwired into us. Even today, gossip helps us navigate the complexities of modern life. It's not just about survival anymore, but about understanding the unspoken rules of our social world. Here's the twist: though gossip isn't always bad, Socrates, one of the greatest thinkers of all time, had a method for evaluating the worth of what we say. He called it the triple filter test. Before sharing something, Socrates would ask 3 questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Imagine if we applied this to our gossip. How much of what we say would pass the test, and how much would fall away as unnecessary noise? Gossip, when guided by these principles, can be something more than shallow chatter. It can be a vehicle for truth, a way to build trust, and even a means of helping others grow. But let me ask you something: why does gossip feel so good? Why does it light up our brains, making us feel a rush of excitement or satisfaction? Neuroscience has some answers. Studies show that gossip activates the brain's reward centers, releasing dopamine, the same chemical linked to pleasure and addiction. In other words, gossip isn't just a behavior, it's a deeply ingrained part of our biology. And this raises an even deeper question: if gossip is so natural, is it something we should fight against, or is it something we should embrace and refine? As we dive deeper, we'll uncover the moral and philosophical dilemmas that gossip presents, Is it ever justifiable to talk about someone behind their back? Can gossip serve a higher purpose, or is it always a sign of weakness? And most importantly, what does our love of gossip reveal about who we are as individuals and as a society? In the next part, we'll explore how gossip shapes power dynamics, morality, and even our sense of self. The power of gossip, how secrets shape society and morality. Let's take a moment to reflect on the power of gossip. It may seem like idle talk, but gossip is one of the most effective tools humans have for shaping the world around them. It's not just a way to pass the time, it's a force that influences power dynamics, defines morality, and even determines who rises and falls in society. But how does this seemingly ordinary behavior wield such extraordinary power? And what does it reveal about the way we as humans operate in groups? To start, let's think about why gossip spreads so quickly. When you share a piece of gossip, it's not just about the content of the information, it's also about the act of sharing itself. Gossip serves as social currency. When you tell someone a juicy secret, you're signaling trust. I'm letting you into my inner circle. In return, the listener feels included, valued, and even obligated to reciprocate with their own secrets. This exchange creates bonds, but it also creates hierarchies. The person who knows the most secrets, the one who holds the most information, often holds the most power. And here's where it gets interesting. Gossip isn't just about the individuals involved. It's about the group as a whole. Philosophers like Michel Foucault have argued that knowledge is power, and gossip is a perfect example of this principle in action. When you gossip, you're not just sharing information, you're shaping how others see the world. Think about it, a single rumor can alter someone's reputation, change how they're treated, and even affect their opportunities. In this way, gossip becomes a subtle yet powerful form of social control. It enforces norms by rewarding behavior that aligns with the group's values and punishing behavior that doesn't. If someone breaks a social rule, cheats, lies, or betrays trust, gossip ensures that their actions don't go unnoticed. By spreading the story, the group essentially votes on what's acceptable and what isn't. But is this process fair? That's where things get complicated. Gossip is rarely neutral. It's colored by the biases and perspectives of the people sharing it. Friedrich Nietzsche might say that gossip often reflects the herd mentality, the tendency of groups to enforce conformity and suppress individuality. When we gossip, are we upholding moral values, or are we simply reinforcing what's comfortable and familiar? Are we seeking truth, or are we indulging in judgment? These are difficult questions, but they're worth asking. After all, gossip doesn't just reveal truths about others, it also reveals truths about ourselves. Let's consider the moral dimension of gossip. On one hand, it can serve a positive function. By exposing harmful behavior, gossip can protect the group and hold people accountable. For example, if someone is dishonest or abusive, gossip might be the only way to bring their actions to light. On the other hand, gossip can be deeply destructive. A single false rumor can ruin a person's life, even if there's no evidence to support it. This dual nature of gossip as both a tool for justice and a weapon for harm raises a profound ethical dilemma. When is it right to gossip? And when should we stay silent? Here's where philosophy can help us navigate the gray areas. Aristotle believed that virtue lies in finding the golden mean, the balance between extremes. Applied to gossip, this means using it wisely and sparingly. Gossip that builds understanding or exposes genuine wrongdoing might be virtuous, while gossip that spreads falsehoods or fuels unnecessary drama crosses the line into vice. But how do we find that balance in a world where gossip spreads faster than ever? Social media has amplified the reach and speed of gossip, making it easier than ever to share information and misinformation. And unlike face-to-face gossip, online gossip often lacks context, nuance, and accountability. This brings us to a critical question: how do we navigate the ethics of gossip in a digital age? Should we be more cautious about what we share, knowing how quickly it can spiral out of control? Or should we embrace the transparency that gossip offers, trusting that the truth will eventually surface? There's no easy answer, but one thing is clear: gossip isn't going away. It's an integral part of how humans communicate, connect, and create meaning. But let's go deeper. Beyond its social and moral implications, gossip also has a profound impact on our sense of self. When we gossip, we're not just talking about others, we're also defining our own identity. By judging someone else's actions, we implicitly state our own values. I would never do that. By aligning ourselves with certain stories and rejecting others, we craft a narrative about who we are and what we stand for. But here's the paradox: if gossip shapes how we see others, and if others gossip about us, how much of our identity is truly our own? In the next part, we'll explore this question in greater depth. We'll look at how gossip influences our self-perception, how it reflects our deepest insecurities, and how we can use this understanding to grow as individuals. The mirror of gossip: how talking about others reveals who we are. Let's step back for a moment and ask a question you may not have considered. What does your gossip say about you? It's easy to believe that gossip is only about the person being discussed. After all, they're the one under scrutiny, right? But here's the truth: gossip is just as much a reflection of the gossiper as it is of the subject. Every word we utter, every judgment we pass, every story we share about someone else is a window into our own values, fears, and insecurities. To talk about others is, in a way, to reveal who we are. Let's break this down. Imagine you hear a friend talking about someone who recently failed at something: a job interview, a relationship, a public project. If your friend's tone is mocking, they may be revealing their own fear of failure. If their tone is compassionate, they might be someone who values vulnerability and empathy. Gossip, then, becomes a kind of mirror. It reflects not just how we see others, but how we see ourselves in relation to them. So, here's a question for you: when you gossip, what are you really saying about yourself? Philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir would argue that our judgments of others are often projections of our own internal struggles. Gossip allows us to externalize the aspects of ourselves we don't want to confront. For example, when we criticize someone for being overly ambitious, could it be that we're really grappling with our own feelings of inadequacy? When we gossip about someone's relationship drama, is it possible we're projecting our own fears about love and rejection? Sartre might call this bad faith, the act of denying our own responsibility and complexity by focusing on someone else's shortcomings instead. In other words, gossip isn't just a social activity, it's also a tool of self-deception. But it's not all bad. Gossip doesn't just reveal our flaws, it can also reveal our aspirations. When we admire someone's success or celebrate their achievements in conversation, we're expressing what we value and what we wish to embody. For instance, if you gossip about a coworker who just landed a big promotion, your tone might reveal whether you feel inspired by their hard work or jealous of their success. Either way, the act of gossiping is an opportunity for self-reflection. It forces us to confront our own emotional landscape and ask, why do I feel this way? What does this say about me? And this is where gossip can become a tool for growth. Instead of seeing it as a purely social or moral issue, we can use gossip as a form of introspection. The next time you gossip or hear gossip, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what does this story evoke in me? Why do I feel compelled to share it? What does my reaction say about my own values, fears, or desires? These questions can transform gossip from a mindless habit into a mindful practice. Of course, this isn't easy. Gossip often happens in the heat of the moment, fueled by emotion rather than reason. But this is precisely why it's so revealing. The things we gossip about, the stories we're drawn to, the judgments we pass, the emotions we feel are raw, unfiltered glimpses into our subconscious. If we're brave enough to look, gossip can show us the parts of ourselves we often ignore. There's also a deeper, existential layer to this. Gossip is fundamentally about other people, and as social beings we define ourselves in relation to others. Sartre famously said, "Hell is other people not because other people are inherently bad, but because they force us to confront ourselves." When others gossip about us, it can feel like an attack on our identity. But when we gossip about others, we're often doing the same thing, using them as a sounding board for our own self-concept. This raises a profound question: how much of who we are is shaped by the stories we tell about others and the stories others tell about us? In the final part, we'll examine how gossip connects us to the larger human experience. We'll explore how it shapes culture, communities, and even our understanding of morality. Most importantly, we'll ask, can we transcend gossip, or is it an essential part of what it means to be human? Gossip and the human condition, why we can't escape it, and maybe shouldn't. Here's a truth we can't ignore: gossip is universal. Across cultures, centuries, and social classes, gossip has always been a cornerstone of human interaction. From ancient marketplaces to modern social media, humans have an irresistible urge to talk about others. But why is this? Why is gossip such a persistent feature of our lives, even when we know it can sometimes cause harm? To understand this, we need to step back and look at gossip not as an isolated behavior, but as a reflection of the human condition itself. At its core, gossip is about storytelling, and humans are, above all, storytelling creatures. Our ability to share stories is what sets us apart from other species. Through stories, we pass down knowledge, warn others of danger, and make sense of the chaos around us. In this sense, gossip is a microcosm of a much larger phenomenon. When we gossip, we're participating in one of the oldest human traditions, the attempt to understand the world and our place in it. The stories we tell about others, whether they're about triumphs, failures, or scandals, are really stories about what it means to be human. But gossip doesn't just help us make sense of the world, it also helps us navigate it. In a community, gossip serves as a kind of social glue. Anthropologists have noted that gossip creates cohesion by reinforcing shared values and norms. When we gossip about someone who broke a rule, we're subtly reminding ourselves and others of what's acceptable and what isn't. Gossip creates an unspoken moral code, one that binds the group together. It's messy, imperfect, and often unfair, but it works. Without it, human societies might struggle to maintain order and trust. That said, gossip isn't all positive. It can isolate, harm, and even destroy. But perhaps that's part of what makes it so deeply human. Like love, anger, or fear, gossip is an expression of our complexity, our capacity for both connection and conflict, empathy and judgment. To gossip is to participate in the messy, contradictory reality of being human. So, here's the question: should we fight this impulse, or should we embrace it? Maybe the answer isn't to eradicate gossip, but to transform it. Instead of using it to divide, we can use it to understand. Instead of gossiping to judge, we can gossip to reflect. What if, by examining the stories we tell, we could learn not just about others but about ourselves?